a Playlyst original.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast,
where we watch the pilot episodes of TV shows to answer your question, should I watch this?
My name is Mitu.
And my name is BJ.
And this week we're watching Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft on Netflix.
So stay tuned to find out what adventures Mitu has been on and what treasures she found.
Wow. Isn't friendship the greatest treasure of them all at the end of the day?
That's cheesy.
Okay, until then, why don't you tell us about some of the other treasures Laura has been chasing, because it's certainly not friendship.
That's for sure. On Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft on Netflix, we are thrust into a high-stakes chase around the world where fearless adventurer Lara Croft, voiced by Hayley Atwell, confronts her traumatic past while unraveling an ancient mystery. And this series takes place after the Tomb Raider reboot trilogy and fills in the gap in the timeline before the original series.
When you say the reboot trilogy, do you mean the most recent ones and then the original series? Do you mean of games or of the Angelina Jolie movies?
Of video games.
Got it. How did you feel about the video game references as our resident nerd?
I don't know how I feel about the title. I will still share my opinion with the listeners. I liked the video game references. It made it fun for fans of Tomb Raiders, watching her jump across that cavern with superhuman strength, watching her swim through a tunnel underwater, almost running out of breath, fighting an alligator. It was like all the different challenges you're familiar with from the video game.
I do remember that. I believe I had the video game on PS2.
Yes.
Okay, that's the thing that it was on?
It's on there. A lot of PlayStation consoles.
Okay, I do remember playing it as a kid, and I remember having a lot of difficulty with it. And when I talked to my partner about it this morning before we watched the show, he said that apparently famously the controls on that game are very difficult.
It's very tricky, the action 3D platforming. You also have to wield a gun. But they recently announced they're remastering the 3 original games, which probably includes the one you played.
Okay. I don't know which one I played. I don't remember what I did. I don't even remember a gun, and I'm surprised you mentioned it.
So it'll just be a whole new experience for you.
Isn't that fun?
Some people wish they could relive things for the first time.
And I do it all the time.
So with the limited memory of the video game, what did you feel about jumping into this story?
Okay, limited memory feels like a pun, like a cartridge pun. In this case, I would say the story was fine. With love, I think this show was fine. If it did not have this big Lara Croft thing to measure up against, I would maybe like it more. But because of all of the intrigue around it, I think I expected a little bit better. And I would say that this show was okay and the story was okay. It is fairly intriguing, the treasure hunting. I would love if they complicated that a little bit. And it seemed like they were doing that some, especially through her friend Zip, played by Alan Maldonado, where he started to comment on like some cultures hoarding treasures and things from other cultures. But I think if you're doing a modern take on this story, or at least telling it in a modern time, maybe complicate the treasure hunting a little bit, or something where the story is just a bit more compelling.
I agree. This pilot episode needed a little more excitement. We do see treasure hunting. We see combat. We see how extravagant Lara's life could be if she didn't want to be a world adventurer. But without the Lara Croft brand name, it's a pretty generic story and show, neither good nor bad. And I think the name of the character adds a little more to that, but it really should be a standout because it is a character that a lot of people are familiar with, and there's a lot you could do with the adventure she goes on.
Especially with an animated show. That's what's so fun about, for example, Star Trek Lower Decks, where Star Trek has mostly, at least for me, been a live action experience. So when you have an animated show, you have the opportunity to make things wild because you're not limited by gravity or the human body or whatever capacities. You can draw anything. And so I wish that they had taken advantage of that, especially because, and something I liked about the show is they mix in a little bit of mysticism, it seems, with the action. And they could have leaned into that even more, especially because it's an animated show.
True. Lara Croft has always had this vague level of mysticism and supernatural elements where you're not completely sure if it's real or not, but it seems likely. And they could have pushed that further. And I'm thinking maybe they limited themselves to fit within that continuity.
Okay. So they're trying to keep to the story.
And I think that's holding them back.
Yeah. If you're an animated show, be animated. Literally and figuratively.
You heard it here first, all of you in the animation industry. Go all out.
If you're animating, animate. How did you feel about her friends? We're getting a little bit of a look into her treasure hunting crew.
Yes, we mentioned Zip. We also meet Jonah, voiced by Earl Balin. And I don't think they're her friends. I think they're on the Croft payroll. At least Zip is. That's about it. They know each other.
Yeah, they're not good friends. She's not a good friend to them, and they're not good friends to her.
No, they're just associates.
And it seems to have all fallen apart because of the death of her mentor, Roth, voiced by the legendary voice actor Nolan North.
Which is interesting because Zip and Balin think that Lara is too involved, cares too much, is caught up in Roth's death. When Lara's like, why don't y'all care enough about my mentor dying?
Yes. She's like, Lara Croft. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to you, to the Barbs. I just can't stop thinking about that line.
Anyway, it's sort of sad now that we're discussing it that she's grieving the loss of her mentor. She's already lost her father. Her childhood home is in disarray. There's no power. She's not paying the electric bill.
No.
But her friends are like, let's just sell off all your stuff. Don't just toss it away and move on. Let's make a profit on your life.
Let's auction it to the British Museum. Famously, just the most ethical institution in the world.
Just like you stole these treasures, let's give it to a museum to steal.
That does bring up the cost of the treasure hunting. I assume, we don't learn this in the first episode, but I assume her father's passing has something to do with the treasure hunting world. I assume, because we don't really see how Roth passes, but I assume that has to do with treasure hunting. Her friendships, ? Are strained because of the treasure hunting. And to your point, she's not even keeping the lights on in her house because she's so consumed by the treasure hunting.
The treasure hunting is interesting. So there is a 3-year gap in this pilot episode. So there's stuff that's happened to Lara that we don't really know about. But she is a treasure hunter. That's what we know Lara Croft is all about. But we see her have mixed feelings about the actual treasure. If you're going to go through all this effort, I feel you'd be more passionate about the stuff you find at the end of the road.
Yes, there is a brief moment where she's starting to steal a treasure, a very mysterious box that I think will be at the center of the season 1 story. And she has a moment as she's taking it where she is confronted by local people who are clearly protecting it. And she's like, is it wrong that we do this? Like, there's a brief moment where she's like, should we even be here? And then she kind of just gets back into it. They kill who they need to kill of these locals and they take the box and they go. And that's when I thought maybe the show might start complicating some narratives around this concept of treasure hunting. But it's true. We didn't go full like investigating why we do this. This might be wrong, or at least something to be more considerate around. And we didn't go full treasure hunt, like screw these people, like, lay this place out, get the box and go. There was just kind of a little bit half in each.
I guess she is trying to redeem herself. There's a robbery in this episode, not a treasure hunting event. And she is going to steal it back. Not sure who she will give it to. But maybe that's her path to redemption. Steal back these stolen treasures.
Okay, like Robin Hood, if he was the rich people that he robbed and himself, and maybe to some extent who he redistributed the wealth to.
Yes.
Okay, Lara Croft for real then.
She has a lot to do.
So much to do, so little time, Mary-Kate and Ashley, which is cool. Do you want to see her do all this stuff that she clearly has on her list in more Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft on Netflix?
Okay, listeners.
Uh-oh.
This is tough because I want this franchise to continue. I was a fan of that most recent live action movie that didn't perform well and didn't get a sequel. And I think watching this show will help the franchise, but it's not that exciting. I would watch again maybe while folding laundry, and I would honestly recommend just go play one of the video games.
I would recommend that movie you're referencing. I think for this show, I agree that it was fine. And because I'm not Lara Croft Hive, I'm not invested enough to watch. However, if you're like me and not Lara Croft Hive, meaning not necessarily not a fan, just not as familiar, I would recommend that new movie too. I watched it on a flight maybe last year or so. Fantastic. It was so fun.
But not good enough.
Apparently. Go watch that so we can get a sequel.
We probably won't. Unfortunately, too much time has passed. But you should still watch it.
True. Okay. Did you have a question for me? I don't remember it.
You're avoiding it because I didn't accept your initial answer.
Oh.
What adventures have you been on and what treasure did you find?
Ooh, okay. The most recent adventure I went on is you and I joined a cornhole league.
Okay.
So we went to go play cornhole following the events of being in a pickleball league.
Right.
So I guess the treasure I picked up from pickleball league was I learned how to play pickleball because I'd literally never seen it before. I just showed up on pure faith in you and our friendship of picking this sport.
Okay.
And then similarly for cornhole, I have seen cornhole before. Have I actively played cornhole? I'm not sure. But by the time we're done with this league, I will come away with the treasure of learning, hopefully, how to make that sack go into the board on the other side.
So you don't have any physical treasures?
No, just sort of the soft skills. That's where I'm at. Soft skills.
Okay. If that works for you, I'm okay with it. If you want the treasure of hearing our reviews of the pilot episodes of TV shows, head to our website at thepilotpodcast.com, and you can follow us on all of your favorite podcast platforms.
You can also follow us on social media at The Pilot Pod, and you can send thoughts, feelings, show recommendations, because every other week, just like this one, we do a show recommended by you, our wonderful listeners. Thanks for listening.
Bye.